Being that it's 7 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Michelle, can you please read the sunshine law?
This is a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Keyport, Tuesday, October 4th, 2022. Let the minutes show that adequate notice of this meeting as required by Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, has been provided by the annual notice, which has been posted on the bulletin boards filed with the Borough Clerk, and has been sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Independent, the Star Ledger, and the Two River Times.
Thank you. Can we please have a roll call?
Mayor Kennedy.
Here.
Council President McNamara.
Here.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Here.
Councilmember McDermott.
Here.
Councilmember Davidson.
Here.
Councilmember Aranio.
Here.
And Councilmember Pepperoni.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you can all please join me in saluting the flag.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everyone, please remain standing. As we're all aware, the community experienced an unimaginable loss on Friday with the passing of Fire Department Chief Timothy Flager. He was in the process of recovering from injuries as a result of an accident coming home from a training class at Monmouth County Fire Academy this past summer. His leadership, collegiality, and friendship will be missed by all. Can you all please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Before we open the agenda for the public, do any council members have any requests to table or pull any items?
Thank you. I'd like to pull communication number 4 for separate discussion.
Is there a motion to do that separately?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Jay, I'm going to request under 2022-210 for the October 4th payment of bills, page 11 and 12, at the bottom of 11 on to 12, if we could pull that until that, I believe Leslie said that Joe was going to be working with you and Tom Fallon about that one invoice. If that could be pulled, please, since I actually read it. Councilmember McNamara?
I just don't know if it's appropriate to make an announcement. Just that I see people here for cannabis, and I know it's on for closed session, but we're not going to be making a decision, so people just at least want to know that, if that's why you're here.
Okay, is that accurate? I didn't know if you were going to come out after a committee review, so.
We didn't have intention.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying that.
So no action today.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Council President. Anyone else on the dais? If not, can I have a motion open to the public for items on resolutions and communications only?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any members of the public have questions on resolutions or communications? Mr. Lee?
Michael Lane, 51 First Street, Keyport. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I'm glad to hear the input from Councilwoman McNamara regarding the cannabis issue. But I do have a question. Resolution 2022-208 wasn't on the agenda last month, and it isn't on the agenda this month. And that resolution approved a highway district cannabis license. And there was no notice in any of the agenda, and there's no posting of this ordinance. How can this be? Where's the transparency? And what was the urgency to approve it at midnight last month when a new building has to be built and it could have easily been on the agenda tonight? I don't understand. You talk about transparency and then you approve this, nothing published, no documentation, nothing for the public. Where's the transparency? Regarding resolution 2022-13, water and sewer. In addition, I think that also included the repair of the stormwater pipe. Is that true? Sure.
I believe the stormwater was repaired by the county, the sewer pipe.
All right. Now, the resolution says we spent $5,000 to televise that pipe. Is that information available now?
The televising of the pipe was the sanitary sewer pipe. The county televised their stormwater pipe.
So we don't have that county data.
The county did share that data with us.
Pardon?
The county did share that
All
data.
right, so it's available to the taxpayers. Regarding resolution 215, closed session for Bethany Manor. Per NJSA 10:4-12, which exception delineation in subcode section B, items 1 through 9 applies to executing this, to having this matter not being discussed while the public is excluded.
It's under attorney-client privilege.
What is attorney-client privilege?
It's attorney-client privilege is when the attorney gives advice and information that is between client and attorney regarding options and different issues involving the subject.
So who is the attorney giving
I
advice
am
to?
the attorney,
And you're giving advice to the council?
giving them advice and information regarding the issue involving Bethany Manor.
And so there's no resolution on the books tonight for that Bethany Manor situation?
No action will be taken this evening.
I think you're skating a thin line there. And you already talked about the Class 5 license for the borough. It's not going to be acted on tonight. Letter number 4. I agree wholeheartedly with you that needs a lot of discussion. For the borough chartered entities, it makes sense that they can use the park for a month or 2 months. But for an individual to come in and use the park for a month or 2 months, that really doesn't make sense. If you have a wedding, if you have an event, it's a 1-day or 2-day affair. But if you're going to have somebody have the use of the park for 30 or 40 days, then there ought to be 30 or 40 residents of Keyport to sign up for that use. And I really ask you to work that issue. Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Mr. Straub?
Jack Straub, 235 Main Street. Could we get an answer to Mr. Lane's first question about the cannabis license being awarded without any notice?
We announced at the beginning of the last meeting that there would be action, and we announced it before we went into closed as well.
What about the resolution? Was that supposed to be published?
It was read into the record after the meeting. It was not available beforehand because what direction the council was going into was the subject of the closed session.
that give you your answer?
No, because the resolution is not published anywhere. It's not.
Okay, well, just want to make note of Mr. Lane's comments.
And there is a resolution, so it just has to be published by the same notice. There is a full resolution,
We hope that all necessary procedures will be followed.
exactly, all the time.
Any other members of the public? Mr. Graham?
Robert J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Can you all explain Resolution 2022-211?
Joe said you want to go to that detail, please?
Certainly, Mayor. This resolution is a budget amendment that changes a budget title, text, or amount. The Chief Financial Officer had recommended that this be done in order to provide funding for the required down payment for the bond ordinance that's scheduled for introduction. This does not appropriate any new funds or increase any taxes. It simply changes the title of and the amounts of two line items within the budget, specifically within the water sewer budget.
And as far as the Bethany Manor thing goes and stuff like that, to be discussed later tonight, in closed session, I definitely agree with what Mr. Lane said. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ryan?
George Wally, 54 Second Street. Attorney, I'm sorry. You said that it was read into the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, are the minutes available? No disrespect for yourself.
Not that set of
Yay,
minutes.
nay?
Not that set of minutes, no.
Pardon me?
Not that set of minutes.
Not that,
And
okay.
if I may, just to clarify, Mayor, the attorney's comment was that it was read into the record. Prior to the resolution being approved, it was read in full for those that did stick around for the open session that followed the closed
Okay,
session.
but again, we're back to the word transparency.
Yeah, the resolution is available for anyone that wishes to obtain a copy.
Where are we at, fitting Michelle's assistant?
My understanding is that it's going to be posted on legal municipalities for a full search.
Yeah, Mayor, I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was confirming with him first before I said it loud.
Oh.
We approved the PO for it to be posted on legal municipalities, so that it's a full wide search.
When did we approve that?
Jay, you informed me last week that it was getting approved. When did it get approved?
I believe Thursday or Friday.
Did we wipe the cobwebs off it before we sent it?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
It's been posted for how long?
Well, we're posting it in a different location.
The posting that we had up earlier was for part-time to try and get
And it still
assistance.
says part-time.
We may consider both, but the one that we're moving forward with, the posting on New Jersey legal municipalities is a full-time position.
So that one doesn't say clerk. I mean, that one doesn't say part-time.
The
Like-
part-time we could still possibly, because I
No,
would
it's
be
for
treated
the,
as a
for
seasonal.
the county.
One that'll be posted on the legal municipalities is a full-time position.
Okay, so I get a copy of that?
And when it gets posted on the league, yes.
I thought it was already.
I said the PO was approved. I don't know if the league actually posted it yet.
Okay.
Any other members have questions on the agenda of resolutions or communication? Seeing no hands, can I please have a motion to close the public?
Motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions or commentary on resolutions 2022-209 through 2022-214?
I did have a question with 213. Just for clarification, this is when you say third, and is this part of the capital process? Is this Third Street where I live on, or no?
No, this is, Resolution 213 addresses the emergency work that was done on Broad Street.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay, thank you.
It references Third because it was the section of Broad between East and West Front
Oh, wait,
Street
yeah,
and
got
West
it.
Third.
Thank you.
Any other governing bodies have any questions on resolutions? Seeing none, my only request would be that if there is a motion to approve
that, before if the attorney bills on the payment of bills from October 4th could be pulled in your motion.
Motion.
You need to motion all of, resolution
I motion.
2022-209.
Motion resolution 2022-209 through resolution R 2022-214 with the payment of bills, resolution 210 on page 11, with the payment of bills to be held for.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Councilmember Aronio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the public hearing and adoption of ordinances, ordinance number 2022-20, establishing a mid-block crosswalk on Broad Street between 3rd Street and East and West Front Street. Michelle, can you please read that by title?
This is an ordinance of the Borough of Keyport, County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 7 Traffic and Chapter 7A Traffic Schedules of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Keyport.
A motion open to the public for the public hearing.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Members of the public have any commentary or questions regarding this hearing? Mr. Graham?
Albert J. Graham, Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. Just a simple question. Can you explain what this resolution is about?
Yes, this is, there was an introduction for another ordinance, me amending the same traffic pattern schedule, Chapter 7A in the borough. And originally it was proposed to eliminate several parking spaces on Broad Street with the redoing of the line striping after it was paved. There was a compromise met for having the parking, having a crosswalk moved further north from where, or definitely further south from where it was originally proposed, and not removing as many parking spaces. So this is the advised ordinance of that.
Now, that's the one with Stavola Construction, right?
Stavola Construction was doing the paving for Monmouth County that was their project. I'm not sure what company's doing the line striping.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lane?
Michael Lynn. Do members of the council have a map or a survey or a site plan on where this crosswalk's going to be?
Yes.
We had it at the last.
Pardon?
We
I had it at the intro.
Yeah, at the intro.
At the last meeting when we introduced it.
All right, so we don't have it tonight.
Trevor has it.
Because the reason I ask is the ordinance says it's going to be 400 and some feet, 430 feet from the corner of Front Street. And when I look at the tax map that delineates all the lot sizes, 430 feet is going to be in the middle of the Old Glory lot. Not going to be close to the driveway into the parking lot.
It is not in the driveway of the parking lot. It is actually, there's a curb cut, there's actually a curb in between the two curb cutouts of the Broad Street Diner and Fat Cat Tattoo. There's a portion of a curb,
I'm talking
and
about,
that is where the crosswalk is going to be
I'm
going.
talking about on the west side, where Old Glory is. It's going to be 430 feet. We'll put it in the middle of the Old Glory lot. Is that where it's going?
No.
Right, I do have the map. Would you like me to present the map?
And then, but the resolution says 430 feet, doesn't say for the map. However, I can give you the analysis.
I'll show you the second map right there. Okay, this is the map of where the crosswalk is proposed. It's proposed in, pretty much in line with the front entrance of Old Glory, and there's two driveways on the opposite side of the street between the diner and the Fat Cat Tattoo Parlor. It's gonna go between those two
And
driveways.
where's the driveway into the parking lot?
This is the driveway into the parking lot. So this is
Oh,
the former
so-
Dunkin'
so it
Donuts
is in front of
driveway.
Old Glory?
Yeah, in front of Old Glory.
So it's in the middle of the Old Glory?
So I did measure the distance to that, and it's measured from the curb line, which is where most of our ordinances are measured from.
Your analysis, and I assume the sidewalk to the building is 15 feet. And so, you're right, it's gonna come in the middle of the Old Glory lot.
Any other members of the public? Seeing no hands, can I have a motion to close the public?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion amongst the dais? Just for clarification, when he was saying Old Glory lot, it's not the Old Glory parking lot that's next to Old Glory, it's the Old Glory lot and block.
Yes.
So, and that is exactly where I explained it prior to having to pull a map, that's exactly what I said. So, is there a motion to adopt? Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
Motion.
Second.
Can I please have a roll call, Michelle?
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Councilmember Aranio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
A motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as adopted.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have introduction of ordinances. We have ordinance number 1, bond ordinance to finance the cost of the improvements related to the Broad Street sanitary sewer emergency repairs. Michelle, can you read that by title?
This is the bond ordinance providing for various water and sewage system improvements by the Borough of Keyport, appropriating $160,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $151,000 bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof.
Is there a motion to introduce?
Motion.
Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Councilmember Aranio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
A motion authorizing the clerk to publish the ordinance as introduced in the Asbury Park Press for a public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any no or abstain? Next, introduction of ordinance amending salary ordinance. Michelle, can you read that by title?
Mayor, I'd ask that, that was going to be the subject of the executive session before introduction.
So, do we need to table this? Till after close?
So,
So, motion to table this till after close session?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Do I need to abstain from that too? Aye.
Next, we have communications by consent. So letters number 1 through 4. Number 4 is in the table for subject consideration, and number 5 is to receive and file. Although we do wish Mr. Santiago much congratulations on his promotion. I would just like to take a moment, though, to go over number 2 and 3. I know KVDC worked hard in the beginning of the year to put all the events on record. Excuse me. But as you know, they got through some other large-scale events. They've learned some tweaking in between, and they're coming back just to make those final tweaks. I don't think anything's major. I have confirmed with the borough for scheduling purposes that moving on item number 3, moving the vendors that'll be under the tent from 11 to 4, which originally were going to be noon to 5, is not a problem. And then all the other information you received in the packet for number 2. Any other questions on those? Okay, if not, can I have a motion to approve items, communications for approval 1 through 3, and for receive and file number 5?
Motion. Second.
Have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Councilmember Aranio.
Yes.
Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Communication number 4.
Thank you, Mayor. So
Actually, before we go to communication number 4, can I also make an update that's was on my new business, which is right after this? The KBBC board has gone into contract, although it will be discussed at the next meeting, but the team that was planning it has approved a contract temporarily for the tree we had talked about. That's been the hot potato in the borough for years. It gets passed around on who's taking care of it. KBBC did agree to do it. However, there's a lot of logistics that go into it as well. And they have decided to bring in a company to rent a tree and put the tree up, but they will not be using the tree stand that's built into the mini park. So, so to make sure it's secured properly, they have asked if it could be put on the corner railings at the top of the mini park in the corner, right next to where it leads down the path. So, just want to clarify that that is being worked on.
Thank you. Communication number 4, I'd like to maybe propose if we can. I know we've been advised that we cannot not allow this to happen on borough property, which I kind of agree with Mr. Lane that Mr. Trichetto is not a resident here, and asking to display something that is not necessarily in favor for all the residents here in town. However, if we are given no choice, I would like to propose at most 1 week at the gazebo, if possible. Maybe from Wednesday, December 15th through Thursday, December 22nd, which encompasses the Bill of Rights Day as well as the winter solstice. It's just a recommendation or a thought. You're welcome. Anybody else have any other conversations?
Thank you for being open to that dialogue. I will also say that both areas are green acres, so it's not like we're moving from one green acres and excluding green acres. We're just moving it literally across a roadway to a separate green acres area. And we have followed suit with our own organizations in the municipality, including Municipal Alliance when they wanted to put out the purple flags for overdose awareness. KBBC already has the mini park reserved on Thursdays and for the farmers market, so our own organizations aren't even able to get it sometimes. And there already has been approval from the beginning of the year, or the spring of the year, for KBBC to have mini park. We've had it be similar then if we're going to start this precedence that when there's a gazebo reserved for a wedding, that a second wedding is allowed to go inside too. I mean, it's great that there's this many people in general that want to use our parks and waterfront. Kind of goes contrary to everyone saying we don't maintain our parks. But I'm open to that. Not that I have a vote in this, but I think that's a compromise.
Ms. London, is there any reason why that would be?
No, I think your suggestion is reasonable. And just for the record, to the question of limiting the park to just residents, just for the record, since this is a Green Acres Park, pursuant to NJSA 7:36-25.10A, the public must be afforded reasonable access to the park. Public, in quotes, is defined as, or concerns, not just residents, but the public at large. So that is the reason why you can't just limit the park to use to Keyport residents.
No, I don't think that was her reference. I think she was
No,
just...
no, I was just answering his question.
Yeah, okay. I think that was...
No, that wasn't my mind.
I just wanted to put it for the record because it was out there as a question.
Thank you.
But I think your compromise is reasonable.
I do have a question. So, are they going to be charged a fee for using the gazebo now that is part of our policy for wedding?
If your policy, whatever policy you have has to be done even-handedly.
I'm asking a question.
I mean, we're talking about the lawn outside the gazebo. Technically, the performance for your use of inside the gazebo.
Okay.
So I think when that ordinance gets cleaned up, hopefully soon, I think that's something that needs to be clarified and codified. But I don't know that we're able to do that at this point.
I just understand. Sorry.
If there isn't any other further commentation, is there a motion for what Councilman Davidson said?
Motion.
Second.
right? Yeah. Okay. I mean, I know, we spoke about it, so I know.
Councilmember Pacheco.
Yes.
Councilmember McDermott.
Yes.
Councilmember Davidson.
Yes.
Councilmember McNamara.
Yes.
Councilmember Aronio.
Yes.
And Councilmember Pepperoni.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next, we have approval of minutes. A motion to approve the minutes from September 6, 2022 regular council meeting.
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any no or abstain? Okay, next on new business, we have a couple items. One I just brought up already before we talk about item number 4 is that KBBC will be discussing at the next meeting for the full board review from the committee that worked on securing a company for the tree and the logistics for that, as well as the reefs that we had preliminarily talked about at the last council meeting as well. And then the other thing is, as we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, of the unfortunate circumstances with the passing of Chief Lager, it is being considered a line of duty death at this point in time, and it is anticipated to be a very large-scale funeral service on Thursday, with wake services on Wednesday. To that point, there's been multiple agencies working on the planning of the procession, because not only was he a fire chief here, but he was a fireman in Homedale Fire Department as well. So this will be inclusive of the 2 municipalities and rather expensive. I'd like to thank Chief Torres for all her leadership on making sure all the details are worked out with all the agencies and departments involved. And with that said, she has presented to Monmouth County. The repast is going to take place at Consolidated Firehouse at the conclusion of the church services, which is anticipated to be from 1 to 4. Clearly, there's going to be a high volume of participants to there. So there is a request and approved from Monmouth County to close Broad Street for that duration from Church Street down to Broad Street. So I just want to make you guys aware of that. And then the other, technically it's a police power, so she has the power to do that, but it's more about communication with you guys as well. Because the repast is expected to be large attendance, there's been an offer from someone in the community to coordinate a shuttle bus if people park in Fireman's Lot. So we're asking to have the closure of Fireman's Lot that day until the conclusion of the repast at 4 o'clock. Is there any objections to that from the council? Chief, did I get that all correct?
Yeah, I have the letter and the rerouting of traffic if they would like to see it, I can pass it.
Okay, all in favor?
Thank you.
And then, any other unfinished business from any members of the days? Okay, Dave, so Pete, Chief Torres, do anything with that? Michelle? Lisa?
Just a quick update. At the last meeting, there was a gentleman, a resident, who had asked or inquired why the borough was not following Section 3, if you recall. As I had thought, it involves federal projects. Section 3 is part of the Housing and Urban Development Act of 1968, 12 U.S.C. 1701, and it allows or provides that the legal basis for providing jobs for residents and awarding contracts to businesses in areas receiving HUD financial assistance. So when you have certain projects that are funded federally, and they are over $200,000, they are required to utilize certain businesses. So I had asked Jay if you had any of those that fell into that category, and it does not appear that you have had. It also covers public works like infrastructure type contracts. And I believe there was one in 2019 or 20 that was like 160 some odd thousand, so it was under the threshold. But Jay is aware of it, so if there are contracts that are federally funded that fall into the category, the borough will be following. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I think that was the case. To Jay being here, I'm sure you would be aware the first aid building wasn't able to because the CDBG grant that they applied for was, they were recipient of federal funds to fund that project. And the quote that came in for the estimate using Chapter 3 made it unaffordable, okay?
Yeah, that was definitely CDBG funds, and that project came in way more than anticipated.
Thank you for that update. Jay?
Mayor, just, I'll ask Trevor to elaborate on the status of the planned reconstruction, resurfacing of Fulton 7th and 8th, as well as Butler and East 3rd. Those plans are nearing completion, and we are looking to schedule a community session for the residents on those streets, as we've done in the past weekend, so, I'm sorry, a weekday, afternoon, early evening. We don't have a definitive date, but that is something that we are looking to schedule in the coming few weeks.
And they will all receive notification in the area?
That's correct.
Thank you. Trevor, if you can follow that, also if you can give an update with the anticipation of a resolution for the tabling of water and the new ADA ramps done along Bird Street now that it's been paved. So there were several that weren't able to be crossed over today because of the pulling of water.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a couple additional ones. I am meeting with the county, meeting set up with the county engineer on Friday, just to review several county issues, so we'll definitely take a look at that as well. We're going to talk about drainage along the Henry Hudson Trail. We're going to talk about traffic regarding the four-way stop report, so we have several items to cover at that meeting. Also, the Broadway bridge reconstruction over Route 35. We received an updated notice from the DOT that detour is going to be put into place starting October 28th. So again, that's the detour of the traffic in the eastbound direction. There will be a detour set up. There will be signs put up in advance just advising the detour, but that's anticipated to start October 28th. As far as Walnut Street, they continue work at 333 First Street project. They were supposed to be out there this past Monday, but again with the rain, they've been postponed again. So hopefully once the rain stops, they'll be back out there, hopefully Thursday or Friday this week. As far as the curb ramps on Broad, I will go out there and take a look at that tomorrow after it rains. I was not able to get out there today, but I will definitely take a look at that and continue the discussion with the county on that and take a look at that.
Are they gonna, when you meet with them, are you gonna go over, are you gonna meet separately about the sort of the punch list for Broad Street? I know there's a couple manholes that I don't think had the right inlet put in.
I believe there is at least one, maybe two manholes paved over. I'll definitely take a look at that too. You're talking about drainage inlets or the manholes?
Manholes in the middle of the road there. I don't think they put the ring in right, or they didn't put a ring in, so there's definitely a dip. Anyone else from the governing body?
I have a question. Trevor, for Walnut Street, exactly what is being done by the borough so that the residents know that what we're going to be doing versus what the contractor's actually doing?
So the remaining work that the contractor has is they still have concrete work that's left over. There's some curbing and sidewalk where they put the new water services in and the fire hydrant. Those are in front of a couple of these residential homes out there. So they need to go back out there and complete that. They also, where they put the water main trench in, there's asphalt there that was just based. So we want to allow that to settle. That settlement period is now over, so we'll be going in and milling out 2 inches of the asphalt and putting in 2 inches of the surface course within those trenches to make it level with the adjacent concrete surface course. And along their frontage, they did put in the curb. They recently added an apron in the sidewalk. They still have to put the final surface course, final 2 inches of asphalt surface course. So that still remains to be done along their property frontage. I believe at this point all the other utility work is done. They had New Jersey Natural Gas, they had JCP&L. I believe that's all complete. So they can go out there now and do that final top course paving. Beyond that, that is the extent of the work that the developer needs to do. We have been looking at Walnut Street as far as the additional water main improvements that need to be put in. They did extend the new 8-inch water main to if it's Oak Street, so we're looking at extending that, the additional length. And then once that's done, dealing with the roadway, concrete roadway and how we want to deal with that. But at this point, we're preparing preliminary estimates for that work.
So, just for clarity, when we are going into streets like Walnut that are concrete, that grade, correct? Is it going to be asphalt topped? Is that the long term? Because I think that's where some of the confusion is with the residents, because, you know, these new developers are going and putting black asphalt top and then they have concrete next to it. So.
Yeah, so that development, they're required to, along their property frontage, remove the concrete roadway and put in asphalt. Where the water main was beyond their property limits, they're only required to restore the trench. So that's why you're going to have an asphalt trench adjacent to the concrete. With the final reconstruction work that the borough will look at, you know, part of what we're going to do with our cost estimate is determine whether that concrete should be removed and the whole road should be asphalt, or, you know, a lot of times you just see a 2-inch overlay like Broad Street. Broad Street is all concrete. Once you mill off 2 inches of asphalt, you put 2 inches of asphalt back on top of the concrete. It's obviously a much cheaper alternative because you're not removing 12 inches of reinforced concrete before you do the final paving. So that's something we'll have to review when we do the preliminary estimates to redo the entire road, whether we want to look at taking out the concrete and putting in asphalt, or leaving the concrete in place and just putting a 2-inch overlay on top of the existing concrete. So it's definitely, obviously, a lot more money to take the concrete out and put in the asphalt roadway. You know, there are several trenches out there that, I don't know if it's gas work over the years or other water work, that, you know, some of the other concrete has been removed. And then obviously if you put in asphalt on top of the concrete, the driveways are going to be too low, so then you have to look at the driveways, you have to look at the curbing, so it's, you have to look at the whole roadway and take everything into consideration and see what the best alternative is.
And I just asked if you guys can coordinate that community meeting with those, with Easter, Bolton, I don't know, whatever the street was. Yeah, if we could just coordinate so that I can make sure I'm there and I can help make sure we get out of here too.
Sure, I'll speak to Mr. Delaney and get a mutual date that we can schedule out.
It'll be a publicly noticed meeting,
No, I
so
know,
we can all be there.
Yeah, no, I know, it's just like the big budget and stuff, I know some people don't say anything.
Councilman Pepperoni?
Jay, do we have an update on Church Street with the gas company?
Oh, we do not. We've gathered information, we're in discussions with the gas company. We do know that the gas company will, the current plan is they will come back to infrared that restoration, again, waiting for the repair work and trench or excavation to settle, and we'll have that discussion on the process.
Okay.
Before the infrared, I think we all want answers first, because we may not be okay with just a compromise of infrared. We may. I don't understand that, but we have no record of any emergency being called in. So, before they go spend money infrareding them, we may not be okay with it. Thank you. A motion to open to the public for 5 minutes now. Motion.
Second.
Favor? Aye. Any members of the public have any comments, please? No.
John Morello, 34 Broad Street. Just a follow-up to Walnut Street, Trevor. The hydrant that was moved, was that at the recommendation of the borough or the contractor thought it would be a good move to move it?
Because that hydrant was, the existing hydrant was connected to the 4-inch water main, we
Yeah.
put that onto a new 8-inch water main. So whenever we extend the new water mains, and we increase the size, we always want to add new hydrants. So that's the reason for that, it was connected to the new 8-inch water main.
Okay, thank you. I also was going to bring up about the gas company update on Church Street. It does bring a question to mind. I mentioned at the last meeting, regardless if the gas company opened it for an emergency or not, it's required by ordinance that they fill out and get approval from this council and pay the fee. They haven't done that. If this council gets that application and votes no, the damage is done already. I agree with the mayor wholeheartedly on this issue. You need answers. You really do. But you also need that permit in front of you. No one else would get away with that. And just because it's the gas company, they shouldn't either. The pole on Maple and Beers, it was hit 9 months ago. I called Jersey Central to find out why a half a pole is still sitting up on Maple Place. And I know we've had this discussion before, and what they're telling me is that Verizon needs to go out there and take care of their stuff before they take the pole down. So I think it's something that we really have to work on, getting those agencies together and saying, listen, 8, 9 months, a year, it's unacceptable. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, first I want to applaud Councilwoman Davidson on the recommendation tonight that this council supported regarding communication number 4. And I also at the same time want to applaud Council President Kathleen McNamara because I've been working with her a little bit on the Bethany Manor, and she's put a lot of time in on this, and she needs to be recognized for that. One of the things I'd ask the council, though, to just look at, you don't have to do anything but look at, maybe have the attorney look at. In the state of New Jersey, there are no statewide rent control laws. There are none. However, in many municipalities within the state, we have rent control ordinances. And there are standard rent control exemptions governed by law. I think the council should authorize the attorney to see if this is something that Keyport should implement that would help everybody. Something's come to our attention. It's not going to be an easy fix. It's a long-term thing. You do have a little leverage. And I think it'd be a great idea just to investigate to see if it's worth its while. Thank you.
That's the question.
Is that something that we can work on?
We have looked at it. I'll have to brush off my notes on that, but it was, I think, Council President McNamara brought it to our attention and asked us to look at it. So we have looked at it. Bethany Manor would not be subject to it because it's federal, and there are strict requirements regarding rent control and when it governs and when it doesn't. But we have put some time and looked into it, so I just have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, thank you. I believe Councilmember Pacheco had mentioned that earlier this year, that was something that she wanted to work on, so do you want to give an update on that?
No, I've got some stuff. I talked to Mary Fulton, Jersey City, which is a rent control ordinance. It's just not going to work for us. But I've been also talking to like my friends at the, my friend Katie Brand. I've been talking to some people, so I have some research I can give you too.
Yeah, I know I have a very detailed analysis of it. I'm just trying to see if I can find it.
We would be able to provide that now anyway, so.
Right.
So then the answer I would say is Councilmember Arena, if you want to talk to Councilmember Pacheco, because she's already working on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Mastrapero?
Daniel Mastrapero, 378 Atlantic Street. I'm glad we're trying to find solutions for Bethany Manor. It sounds complex given that it's federal. I'm a really big proponent of rent control, and I just really want to bring it to the council and mayor's attention that Keyport Harbor Apartments and Green Grove have also raised their rent, and these seniors don't know what they're going to do. So I hope that, I don't know if rent control can work in Bethany, but I just hope it's something that, we keep, I don't want to, on the back burner, no, this is an emergency for seniors in Keyport now. We've got a great senior center, but we have to support them in this way as well. So, thank you.
Just for the record, the apartment complex, as you mentioned, are seniors, those are general population. But so I know I've brought up to the attention of council members on the finance committee for the last 4 years, the complaints I've continuously received from many other apartment complexes, including Keyport Village and Homedale Point. So there's many others that aren't just those ones that you listed, and it's general residents as well, not just seniors.
Correct, and I just know the seniors can't just go make more money. They're not getting cost of living commensurate with the rest of us, although they are getting COLA next year. And it's just heartbreaking to see them worry.
Mr.
Michael Lane. Trevor, you mentioned you were meeting with the county captain. I missed the date. When are you meeting with the county?
Except for this Friday.
Oh, Friday, okay, great. I look forward to hearing the results. The same standard that applies to closed sessions. NJSA 10.4-14 has requirements for minutes of meetings, availability to the public. Each public body shall keep reasonably complete minutes of all their meetings, which shall be promptly available to the public. I don't think we've been abiding by that requirement.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing with you, Mr. Lane.
And so what do we have to do to get the minutes available? And that is a state requirement. You gotta follow the law. In addition to what Mr. Morello talked about, utility poles. Any progress on getting the utility poles cleaned up along First Street and Prospect, etc.? They're draped, just draped with disconnected cables.
Yeah, I'll check and provide an update for the next meeting from the property maintenance inspector.
And I look forward to hearing about the Henry Hudson Trail based on Trevor's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. In the back, I can't see who's sitting.
It's Patrick.
Sorry, hi Patrick, sorry. I saw a comment on him.
Hey, buddy.
And a handshake. Sorry, I shouldn't have.
Patrick Maroney, 313 Main Street. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. So I had a couple things regarding storm sewers. So the first thing is on Main Street, just north of Jackson, when there's a, kind of a downpour, there's some serious flooding there, probably, foot and a half, something like that. Damage to our, we have a shed back there that's kind of slowly sinking into the ground because the ground gets so, so wet. Some, damage to the wood. It's killed a couple of trees that we planted, like new trees. A neighbor had a car flooded. They had their car parked there, and it's kind of a low sitting car, and it got flooded out. And I know, they've looked at that drain that's right there, just gets backed up. Like it just can't handle the water, right? So it's not that the line is blocked. It's that, it just can't handle it. So I guess I'm wondering, is there, I guess I've seen somewhere that there's, maybe 1.5 million being allocated for storm sewers. Is that potentially something that could be, part of that? Or has that, all that money already been allocated and that's not part of it?
I think it's a two-fold question.
Yeah.
So, Jay, there's been an area of the storm line that is infiltrated and possibly damaged, correct? And that's where you had said that's why some of the flooding that happens when it goes from Main Street to Broad Street, and then that's where it backs up the sewer line onto Atlantic Street. Do you want to explain whether, when that repair is done, whether that would help Main Street or not? That's the first question.
Sure. Well, let me start by saying that the recent increased occurrence of what we come to call high-intensity, short-duration rain events have underscored several areas within the community where what previously were probably identified as flood issues have really become much more frequent, and I've always described it as sort of the canary in the coal mine. These are the first areas where, for either reasons of reduced capacity or a need to increase capacity, we need to look at. And essentially, that area that starts essentially west of Main Street, that water actually runs all the way across town, past Broad Street, over to Atlantic, and actually discharges out into the creek.
Right.
And we've kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, addressed it piecemeal from both directions, both the upstream side as well as the outfall side. We actually somebody out there help me out, it was last fall, we did a clean out of the discharge at the creek, something that hadn't been done by our estimate, in 30 years. And worked upstream from that in terms of making any minor repairs and cleaning out, again, a combination of piping that is both the borough's responsibility as well as the county's. So to answer the question, I think we have identified some areas where we definitely need to increase capacity or find alternate route for the discharge of the water. Certainly not in that particular case, but certainly in the area closer to the water, basically 3rd Street, Fulton, that area where we are looking at some alternatives, working with the county as well, because the county trail is one of the existing and long-term, has been existing drainage systems within the community. So I'd ask Trevor to fill in kind of the blanks in terms of some of the specifics. Just as recently as, I believe, 3 weeks ago, we completed and uncovered unknown structures to the west of Main Street that connect actually, I believe it's St. Peter and St. George Street, the drainage there, through Willow. It actually runs through some backyards. Not to say that we've also encountered issues with the county drainage system on Broad Street. Again, some unknown piping and structures that in some cases go underneath existing buildings. Stuff that was built probably, certainly before my time. We're talking 50 to 100 years ago in some of these cases, the structures have been built. So again, Trevor may be in a better position to answer some of the specifics, but suffice it to say that where typically our road reconstruction program, we're looking at water and sewer utility infrastructure, that has been expanded to include drainage as well. Not so much to add drainage where it doesn't exist, but whether the existing drainage system is sufficient capacity to handle these high duration, high intensity, short duration rain events. And just as an example, I think that for the most part, we've been monitoring a number of locations. In this recent nor'easter storm, we actually, the system has been able to handle these, long duration rain events. Yeah, but they're less intense. But we probably in the last 7 days had as much rain as we've seen in one of these short duration events in the last few years. So it's a matter of, in some cases, the drainage system was just never designed to handle that sort of rain.
It seems that way. I mean, and it seems like it's probably a matter of adding a new line that doesn't go to that creek, right? I mean, and I understand that's millions of dollars. I guess I assume that's not something that would be part of that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I'm going to speak to the county about is from Main Street to Broad Street. There's a pipe that goes through some backyards, starts in the inlets. I'm not sure if there's inlets that may be in people's backyards that are buried and you can't see. Then from there, it goes from Broad Street through the Board of Ed property.
Right.
So, we're going to talk to the county about trying to TV that line just so we can see if there are any blockages. And I mean, that's the first step, right? To make sure that the pipes as they exist are working.
They said they were going to do that like 3 or 4 years ago. I brought this up before.
Okay.
When Steve Gallo was here and he came and we looked at it and they said, oh yeah, we're going to TV it. They may have already done that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to check. I think that's obviously the first thing, to make sure that the pipes are running to full capacity.
Right.
And then the second thing would be, looking at, like you said, alternatives for additional piping, but you still have to get from that point either to a creek or to a bay. It's quite a long distance that we'd have to extend any new piping to discharge to.
Okay.
So you said 313?
Yeah. Okay. And the second thing I wanted to bring up, it's I guess related. So a lot of these street corners, which I've been bringing up for a little while now, the new ones, when they put them in, they're kind of low for, whatever reason, and so the water is collecting. And the mayor brought it up tonight, the new ones on Broad Street are doing that exact thing, which just seems really stupid that we would, put these new things in and spend all this money and then they're flooding. I mean, and actually brought some, I think maybe I'll give one of these to you, Trevor, because I took these today. I mean, these are four new street corners that just got put in last week, or, a month ago, whatever it was. And they're flooding, and, there's two by the school. So, I was talking to the crossing guard, and they said, well, yeah, the kids go out into the intersection to get around this puddle, or they go down the street a little bit, they go through the yard to get around this puddle. So that's a safety issue, right? And then obviously when they freeze over, in the winter, if there's water sitting in there, it's, like this on Main Street, it's another safety issue. So it's almost like they're creating these issues because someone's not understanding how, the water is going to drain away. There's no place for the water to go.
Yeah, Broad Street is a compounded situation too, like it was on Main, that we did discover that a lot of it was sub pumps pumping out to the street on top of the regular rain, right?
Right.
So it's a combination, but I agree as far as these, I'm all for ADA, as a person with a disability myself, so this is a federal and state requirement when we're doing ramps, that this is how they have to be now. But I do agree that there has to be something, because this happened on Main Street repeatedly until I don't know what solution you came up with, but we wouldn't sign off on the payment of bills for that until it was resolved, because it was a continuing issue after Main Street was paved. So now we are facing the same situation on Broad Street, so we could please look into that.
Sure. And just to add to what the mayor indicated about the curb ramps, so anytime we pave a street, the federal requirements are that you have to put in these curb ramps that, obviously the mayor said we want to be ADA compliant everywhere. The problem is when you put the curb ramps in, you have to put them in at 2% from the curb up to the sidewalk, and also 2% along the roadway too. So 2% is almost as flat as this table. It's very flat. And I've seen the DOT come in, they put their smart level on it, and if it's 2.2%, they make you rip the whole thing out and redo it. So it's...
I'm just letting you know, this wasn't a local engineer failure, this was a
I kind of figured, but I guess the question, I guess it's one solution would be to have drains, right? Like if there were drains on the corners, then the water would have somewhere to go to. I don't know, it seems like there has to be some way to be ADA compliant and not collect water, because you're then creating safety issues by having the water there. I don't know, it's very frustrating. All right, thank you.
Stuart Collins, 54 2nd Street. Jay, where are we at with the letter from the fire department?
I have not received that.
And you've asked numerous times?
Yes.
I request, Mayor, that something be put in Jay's file. This is ridiculous. We have 4 fire chiefs, we have 3 fire chiefs, and we can't get a letter. I've been asking for over 6 weeks now.
What letter are you referring to?
A letter of negligence of doing his job.
You want him to write a letter that he's not
No,
doing his job?
I'm asking you.
I'm asking you, you're asking for a letter from him, and I don't know what letter
I
you're
don't want a
asking.
letter from him. Oh, you don't know which letter we've been talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, it's in regards to the curb cut at the firehouse. That allegedly there's a letter from the county saying they have permission to cut the curb.
Okay.
I opened it from the county. There is no record at all. If I'm not mistaken, Jay, Trevor, and Mr. Lane were there the day they said they do have a letter.
Okay, I'll look into this.
Pardon me?
I'll look into it.
Okay, greatly appreciate it. If you don't find one, I request a letter to be put in his file.
That would be a personnel matter.
Pardon me?
That would be a personnel matter.
I don't care what it is. I'm a taxpayer, you would trust. Members of the governing body, was anybody contacted today with the trailers being put in the fireman's lot?
Nope.
Anyway? How did that happen then?
That's not required for the council to approve filming.
How did it happen?
It's a
Who authorized,
registration.
who authorized trailers to be put into the borough parking lot?
The filming permit and the filming permit requirements are approval by the chief and the administrator.
So I don't know if Rick wanted that? Well, my understanding was they were up at the Blue Rock, and when the tide came in, they were moved.
So is that correct?
No, it's not accurate.
It's not? Okay.
The request for use of fireman's lot, and I believe a couple other locations goes back at least 10 days ago. The request was initially submitted at least 10 days ago.
Right, for Broad Street parking lot, parking lot.
No, this is different.
There was 3 pending requests coming to the borough.
But I'd have to know for all this information, I guess.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Fox?
David Fox, I'm also the president of Consolidated. I personally filled out, received engineering approval from the Monmouth County. There was a permit, it was finalized, we put up a bond, we received the bond back. I do have all the paperwork that he's asked for. I don't know what the problem is because that was a county road. We went through all the proper procedures with the county engineer, and everything was done legit. We have a permit. Like I said, we put a bond up, we got the bond back. Everything was finalized by the county. I don't know where the problem is, but it was done on the up and up.
Is there any opposition to you forwarding a copy of that, if you have a copy?
I do, and once I locate it, I will forward it to Jay, I will forward it to you.
Oh, you can forward it to Jay.
I will forward it to the administrator, and anybody else who wants it, but it was done on the up and up with the county. Thank you.
Appreciate that, thanks. Mr. Kelsey?
Andrew Kelsey, 29 St. Peter's Place. Water, flooding and curb ramps is not ADA compliant. So I don't know how that's okay to do, but it's okay to put in these ramps that cause it to be ADA compliant when you're not. So I just thought everybody should know that. Flooded curb ramps are not ADA compliant.
Wow.
George Long, 54 Second Street. In the follow-up to Mr. Fox's statement, should the borough, anytime something's done on borough property like that, should we not have a copy in the file in our office?
When it's borough property, that is correct. That is not, that's private property on a county road. That was the permit was for.
But we own the property there.
We do not own Consolidated by our house.
I didn't say the house, the property.
We don't own.
We don't own it?
I'm not gonna go on record. I don't have that record, property record in front of me right now.
Because the next question would be, why is it tax exempt then, if we don't own it?
I'm sorry.
Like, why would it be tax exempt if we don't own it?
It's a nonprofit organization. I mean, my thought, but again, I don't have the property record card in front of me, so we can get back with you on that information.
All right. But going forward, should something like that be put into the office?
If it falls under the parameters of what I already said, then no.
All right. I assume the permit says that it's a curb cut. Who authorized the sidewalk and the driveway to be poured? Usually they would come before the governing body and request a waiver of fees. Thank you very much.
Mr. Randall?
Albert J. Graham Jr., 22 St. Peter's Place. I forgot to do this, but good evening, Mayor and Council. I know it's a little bit late. Anyway, that's not light enough. Anyway, on Class 5 cannabis retailer license, why is that being, out of curiosity, why is that being discussed in closed session instead of open session?
I believe the attorneys can just go through the processes and make sure everything is going along correctly.
We're just going through the ordinance, going through the process.
Okay.
There would be no decision on retail license this evening.
Okay, good. thought the public would have a right to know on that, but, okay. Another thing, I know I keep asking this question, Madam Mayor, Veterans Committee meeting, when are we gonna have one? Any of it on the horizon?
I was just waiting for Mr. Brown.
Should be sometime soon, if not you, then hopefully the next mayor will take up the Veterans Committee meeting and stuff like that. One more thing, on the waterfront, I know, of course, as you all know, we have the remnants of Hurricane Ian and stuff like that. Any progress being made to improve the flooding on the waterfront, controlling flooding on the waterfront?
I did receive an update from, well, there's a couple of projects that could fall into place. One is the funding that came from Congressman Pallone and his bill. Do we have any updates on that one, Jay?
I have not seen any updates.
We have that, or an allocation of a timeline when that funding's going to be received, correct?
My recollection is that we were expecting to hear something before year end. The last official word was we had submitted some additional information to the State Office of Emergency Management, and they were then reviewing that, packaging it for review by FEMA. Since this is it is funded through an existing FEMA source, I guess is the best way to say it. But I have not seen anything further on that.
Okay, all I can say is, we got off easy again this time with the hurricane, tail end of hurricane, remnants of Hurricane Ian. But God forbid if we have another hurricane superstorm Sandy, it could be much worse, but God forbid. Let's hope something's done about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Fox, President of Consolidated. We own Consolidated, both lots. We pay to maintain the property. We pay to insure the property, and the water bill on the property is our property. It does not belong to the borough. The only, where the building sits, there is a deed restriction that it has to be a firehouse. But the lot that we put the driveway in does not have any restriction, but that wouldn't change us putting in a driveway. So just to clarify that, all 5 firehouses are owned by individual fire companies, and they maintain, they insure them. The town has nothing to do with the building. They take care of the truck and the equipment that are in there.
I knew the building, but I didn't have a property card in front of me to confirm the actual property.
The property is owned by the individual companies. Thank you.
Mr. Stroud?
Jack Stroud, 235 Main Street. The commercial cannabis license that was awarded at which meeting? Was it 2 meetings ago? The last meeting. And that was in open session?
So it was announced at the beginning of the meeting that there would be discussion during closed session and that action would be taken after closed session.
Okay, I wasn't here last meeting. So went into closed, but you announced there would be action.
You announced it twice, correct.
Got it. So, but at this one, you've announced that there's a close, but there will not be action. Okay, thanks for clarifying that. On the communication number 4, so the council approved, but it's basically been changed from what the letter originally said. Will that be put in writing somewhere so that the public can see it? Because you approved it, but you didn't approve what the communication said. You approved something different, which is good, but will that be posted somewhere in writing?
Should be. In the minutes with the approval of those, right?
But the minutes.
And we're getting better.
Right, but that'll be a month from now. I mean, is there any place that can be posted? Because it might not be posted in the minutes until after it goes up.
He'll be notified of what the approval was. The applicant gets a correspondence as to what the approval was.
Right, so I'm just asking for,
Public,
for the benefit of anybody's here. I mean, it was approved, but it wasn't approved as it showed in the agenda. It's something different, it's better, but I guess I'm just trying to figure out, other than the minutes, is there a place where what was approved could be posted?
I see your point, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Any more hands come, motion to close.
Motion.
All in favor? I'll defer to Ms. London about closed session topics.
We have resolution 2022-15, resolution of the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, New Jersey, authorizing meeting not open to the public in accordance with provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. Whereas the Borough of Keyport, County of Monmouth, by cooperative politics of the state of New Jersey, is subject to certain requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. Whereas NJSA 10:4-12 provides that a closed session not open to the public may be held for certain specified purposes when authorized by resolution. And whereas it is necessary for the borough to discuss in a session not open to the public matters concerning collective bargaining pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B4 and matters concerning Bethany Manor pilot agreement and matters falling within attorney-client privilege, both with respect to, relating to matters concerning cannabis business license applications pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12B7. Now therefore be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough, the Mayor and Council assembled in public session on October 4th and determined that a closed session not open to the public shall be held at the Borough Hall for discussions of the matters relating to the specified items designated above. It is anticipated that action may be taken with respect to the collective bargaining agreement.
Have a motion to go into closed session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.